Alliance blog, the Alliance blog, the Alliance blog, the Alliance blog. Alliance? If you put an S in front of Alliance, you have Salliance. That's me.
This is David Goldie, your World Wrestling Grand Prix champion, and you're listening to the Alliance Guys podcast.
This is Lois Rain here, and I'm advising you to do yourself a favor and watch the Alliance Guys podcast.
Building an alliance.
Will you join us?
It's showtime.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are tonight's entertainment.
You're not here, you missing out, because this show...
Ladies and gentlemen.
All right, listen up. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for.
It's time for the Alliance Guys podcast.
What is up, everybody? It is Thursday, and it's the Alliance Guys podcast, a presentation of alliance-wrestling.com, your number one source for news and for information for the National Wrestling Alliance. My name is Jake Callan. Momentarily, I'll be joined by the one, the only, the professor, and hopefully later in the evening, we'll be joined by Mr. Jaden, who will be talking, I'm sure, about all things NWA with us, along with the Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators. We'll get to all of that momentarily. I do want to bring up the fact that we're coming off of a big weekend for the National Wrestling Alliance, where Natty Neihart did everything she could, including beating the shit out of a fan ringside to get people talking about the NWA, and I'm here for it. The National Wrestling Alliance with the Crockett Cup. Everybody's excited about what they saw. Everyone's excited about what we heard. And, well, Rick was supposed to be there with us. Unfortunately, Rick was unable to make it, but he's here now. And also, Mr. Jaden's here. And I just want to say to both you gentlemen, how you doing this evening?
Fantastic. Thank you for having me yet again.
How you doing?
I'm doing something all right. The pleasure's all mine, I assure you. We had some pretty cool things happening this week. I see that we already have a couple of people in the chat. Millennial Noobs in the house. Omega's here. Willie Bone even dropped the joke. Jaden, the Inverness Cayley Thistle official football sweater. I'm wearing it. Or is it, I guess, jersey. I guess hockey's only sweater. I'm wearing
That's because they used to actually wear sweaters in hockey, but yes, you have the official jersey of the team that you secretly own.
Yeah, I wish, man.
New sponsors at alliance-wrestling.com.
You know what I'd do if I owned it? We'd put a wrestling show right there in Scotland, and we'd have Fiona do the ring announcing for us. That was more Liverpool than it was Scotland, but you get the gist. Real quick, Willie Bowen with his Tyrus joke of the night. When Tyrus lost his picnic heavyweight championship, he rented himself out as a kid's bounce house at their backyard parties. All right, Willie, if you say so. So one of the things that was afforded to me while at the Crockett Cup was this neat little press pass. I'm sure they're going to regret giving it to me, but thank you, Paul Poyle, for helping me out on that one. That was really cool. One of the cool things that I got to do is hang out backstage, and I kind of snuck into the Billy Corgan Q&A. And if you guys wouldn't mind humoring me for just a few moments, we're going to play a couple of clips from the Q&A experience. Now, I haven't edited these. These are just how they were recorded. So if they look a little wonky, I apologize in advance, but here you go.
The WWE allowing Anthony to be here tonight. The WWE recently bought AAA. We work with AAA now. So family wrestling is now opening up. And what does that mean? Much more great matchups for fans. And if you really think about it, it's really happening because fans want to see these matchups. business to be done, well, I think you're starting to see that loosen up. And I've been predicting for about 5 to 7 years that the future of professional wrestling, as amazing as it was, the gentleman was talking about seeing the Midnight Express and the Rock and Roll Express, back in the day. Trust me, I grew up in that time. I'm 58 years old. I saw some of the greatest superstars ever, mostly through the television. And of course, I used to hang out with the ECW guys back in the day. That was a lot of fun. I can't believe I survived that. As Bowie once told me, the first time I saw you in the locker room, I wanted to punch you in the face. I said, who the fuck is this rockstar?
I still want to punch him in the face.
Anyway, and we'll produce other additional programming for it. So, if you love what we've done in the past 8 years, you'll be able to see some of that programming. And some of the episodes that we'll film here tonight will eventually go on that Wrestling Central channel.
So to preference this one, and I'm sorry, I just kind of pushed play, but the question was asked about the streaming service that is now going to be a part of the Wrestling Central. And I guess, we should preface it by saying it's the advertising based Roku channel. And what Billy was saying is that it's not going to be first run programming. They're not moving power to this streaming option. It's essentially going to be like the historical content from the Lightning One era. The stuff that the NWA has produced under William Patrick Corgan will be fed on that outlet. And they didn't give specifics, but even Billy says here, and you'll listen to him closely, he basically says that, even some of the matches that will be filmed there at Crockett Cup will eventually end up on that service. But again, it's not first run programming. It won't be they're moving power from X to Wrestling Central. I just wanted to play that so that everyone kind of knew we're all on the same page here, that this isn't going to be a new show or moving power to Wrestling Central when that happens. But let me play the clip again.
The NWA, and we'll produce other additional programming for it. So if you love what we've done in the past 8 years, you'll be able to see some of that programming. And some of the episodes that we'll film here tonight will eventually go on that Wrestling Central channel. So by the time being, we're still on X and YouTube. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
So again, and I think that's kind of important to speak on, because a lot of people were under the assumption that Wrestling Central was going to be this new platform, that the NWA would mitigate all of its content off of X and off of YouTube to this platform, but that's just not the case. And there's still reason to be excited about Wrestling Central, what the NWA plans to do with it. But again, it is going to just be another distribution for previously recorded content. Now let's go to the next clip. If you guys don't mind, we'll jump to the next one.
Particular instance, and there's other things to come, but in this particular instance, there's going to be a new fast channel called Wrestling Central, and we'll be sharing airtime with WOW, which of course is a promotion owned by the later Gene Bus, and run, of course, by the guy who used to run Glow. So that'll be very interesting there. We talked about maybe doing some stuff together there, but.
So I apologize, my listing was a little out of place there, but yeah, they will be doing Wrestling Central will be just basically historical stuff. And he mentioned that, the matches that they're filming there at the Crockett Cup will be eventually placed on Wrestling Central. But again, they're not moving where power is at. Noob said, so NWA will still be on X because the current taping schedule is still ass. With 100% certainty, I think we could all agree that the taping schedule sucks the big one. More from Billy. I got to ask one question. I think this is it. And if it's not, then I apologize in advance, but I'll play it anyways.
Gary Gordon, of course, the son of the legendary Ricky Gordon. Woo! Anyone who came last year? We have the previous winners, Knox and Murdoch, and of course in the tournament. And of course, led by the erstwhile Aaron Stevens, 1-4 strong, chasing their first Crockett Cup. We also have the clones about Puerto Rico.
That wasn't it. And I think this one is the one that I meant to play. So, Billy, tonight we have Natty Neihart making her NWA debut. I'm sure you had to go through
lots of hoops and jumps to get that. Has there ever been any more talk, or will there continue to be talk about having potential WWE talent appear in an NWA ring?
The gentleman's asking if there be more opportunities between the WWE and NWA. Because I've worked in the entertainment business for so long, and now I've worked in professional wrestling for over 10 years on the professional side of it all, the thing I've learned is walk before you can run. I would love to predict a bunch of stuff. I can't predict anything. The WWE is doing us an incredible honor and favor tonight, and that's the way I look at it. I don't look past that because there's nothing to look past. If the WWE decides tomorrow, that was nice, it was cool we did, but you're on your own, well, I have to persist, we have to continue to build. So I don't look for any sort of miracles to happen, and I also think that's part of why the WWE respects what we're doing, because we don't have our hand out, we're not begging, we're not looking for one thing to make it all happen. We're looking to provide one of the most consistent, hard-hitting wrestling shows in the world, event after event, to prove to great fans like you that we belong. Self-serving, having played over 3,000 concerts in my life, I can tell you that's what it's really about. It's going on that stage night after night and proving that you belong. It's not a miracle. The miracle is that you can do it again and again and again. That's why wrestling companies that really have momentum, like ECW did back in the day, like Mid-South did back in the day, the reason those companies gain that momentum is the fans believe there's a magical thing going on. You can only get that magic from that one place. And the last thing I'll say, and I love to say this part, and it's a rock and roll thing. I grew up right, it was the Beatles and the Stones, and then it was the Who and the Kinks. Okay? There's plenty of room in this world for WWE, AEW, CCW, and WWE. And why do I say that? Because competition is good, more people working is good, and more great matches and more great talent for you to see and enjoy if you're a fan of the sport. Thank you very much.
I think you're muted, Jay.
So that was it. There were more things said. Obviously, there was a little bit longer Q&A, and I kind of just did a few like 30-second, 1-minute clips. The big takeaways that I got from it is, one, the WWE gave them a gift. Noob said, so Billy Corgan is hinting at more working with the WWE talent. That's interesting. In fact, Noob, I think he said the exact opposite. I asked him, hey, is there more talk to work with WWE talent? And essentially his answer was, we're not going to say no if the offer is on the table, but we're not waiting around for a handout from the WWE, which, I think that's the right answer in this situation. And Jaden, I almost called you DK, Jaden or Rick, you guys could back me up on this one. I think when it comes to building a brand, the handout from WWE obviously is appreciated, but you can't count on it, right? Rick, you go first, and you're muted.
As awesome as it would be, it's not going to always happen. It's going to be something that's on occasion. I think WWE did it with their developmentals as well. They occasionally would send talent down. It's not like it's like a weekly thing every single show. It's something to help that brand, and I think that WWE today is helping a lot of brands that the old regime necessarily wouldn't. And I think it's pretty awesome for them to be working with somebody like the NWA.
What were your thoughts on that, Jaden? I know that's the first time you've heard that audio. What did you think about that?
I think, if the WWE always is supplying stuff, it takes away the identity of the NWA and also takes away the specialness of it.
Yeah.
You could eat chocolate pretty often, but if you ate it every single day, you really won't like chocolate very much. And that's it right now. So you don't want to take away the NWA. You don't want it to be dependent. And all honesty, it's probably only just because of that lawsuit with MLW that they're doing this at all anyway.
Yeah.
If they're helping out with these little smaller companies, having people work for GCW and the NWA and TNA and stuff like that, it gives the illusion that there is no monopoly or no, somebody controlling the market and damaging and not damaging, but controlling the entire wrestling business and keeping others from thriving. So I think that's why that one goes the way it does.
Oh, for sure. And I, part of me thinks like, to me, it does the exact opposite of proving that there is a monopoly. It shows like, oh, if we just dangle a carrot in front of the audience, we know we can help you draw. So it just shows you like they are the supreme power when it comes to pro wrestling. I don't think it's even up for debate, but I will say this, even sitting there after asking that question and having hopes that Natty Neidhart was going to win, I just thought he was throwing me a red herring. It was like a total swerve. Like, no. We have no plans to do anything else for the WWE. And then Natty wins. And of course we're all happy about it, but that's not what happened, obviously. And I appreciate Billy being as transparent as he did. I know like Sean says, talk in circles. Double D says, talks like a president. Do I need a big truck? I like big trucks. Sometimes people need a big truck in life. If it was the right time and place for a big truck, everybody loves a big truck. Big truck. Funny. Absolutely hysterical. But I do feel like he kind of gave the most honest answer he could give in that situation. Because I mean, I guarantee you tomorrow, if the WWE is like, hey, man, we got this guy Karrion Kross. We're not ready to push him yet, but he's gonna get pushed soon. Can you bring him on to Power and have him beat a few jabronis? Corgan's gonna say yes, absolutely, I can. Hey, we got this guy who's a former NWA World Champion, and we're not sure where to bring him out at yet, but we think he'd be great to have a match with Tom Latimer. We're talking Cody versus Tom for the 10 pounds of gold. What do you think? Like, of course they're gonna say yes to that. Like, but like Billy also pointed out, like you can't sit there waiting for the WWE to just, give them pennies from heaven every chance that the NWA has an opportunity for it. The matchup, which again has been posted all over the internet, you can find it anywhere. No hints or anything, but you can find it almost anywhere. Fan cam footage and all that fun stuff. I think it served its purpose very well, got people talking about the Crockett Cup. Rick, unfortunately you weren't able to make it down there, but I'm sure you were kind of staying tuned to the internet to see what people were saying, what people were thinking. What did you hear? As a fan,
really, I just checked. Sorry.
No,
really, I just checked out the results online. I found them on Cage Match. I found them on alliance-wrestling.com. So it was really cool because it seemed like it was, I don't know, it didn't seem like it was really intense. Like they really went overboard with like trying to freshen up things. I mean, with the addition of Hammerstone and Natalia, it seemed like it was just another NWA show. I don't know. I really wanted to be there and experience it to see, because I'm like, they put out that video Billy did about, and it sounded like they were going to be doing great stuff going forward. So I just really wish I was there, because I thought that this was going to be the show that it would have happened at. Is that, tell me if that happened.
So, and I'll let Jaden speak to it, because between the three of us, I feel like Jaden is probably the most pessimistic when it comes about the NWA. But I mean, Jaden, you sat next to me throughout most of the event. What was your thoughts on overall on the show? As close a synopsis as you can get.
I obviously can't hear the booking. I mean, the commentary, so I can't give any opinion how that alters the perspective of the show. I actually said a thing. I actually gave it a B overall. Yeah. I didn't watch the Mims and Max match.
Yeah.
So I can't give an honest opinion on that, but it was pretty good. There were some improvements. There's some people there that I think, that maybe they weren't the biggest part of this. They weren't the biggest people they could put in that spot. The booking was okay. It's better than it's been, at least from everything I've been saying and seeing. A couple faces made good impressions. Like I actually liked Crazy Steve, and I thought he worked well with Alex Misery. Was it?
Yeah.
I thought him and Alex Misery actually worked well, and was a good work with the Sinister Minister. I don't know if they recorded any promos in the back. I don't know if they promoted any bad skits, but just the wrestling itself, like I said, I gave it a B.
just so happens Alex Misery's here in the chat. What's up, Alex? Thanks for hanging out with us. You know,
excuse myself for 1 minute. I'm sorry, guys.
No problem.
I have to step aside. Sorry about that.
Yeah, we'll see you in a minute. There was without like trying to give out too much of the information that happened at the show, like there was some things that we weren't expecting, you know, like they obviously one of the biggest problems with the NWA today is this taping schedule, where some of these matches that were filmed back in, you know, we're watching now that were filmed back in February or March, you know, the next set of tapings that are set to go on X will be the ones that took place in Dothan, Alabama. And again, that was back in March. So we're talking about stuff that's 2 months old already. So like this week alone, we saw the new tag team of Mike Mondo and Spencer Slade. And they were a hell of a tag team at Crockett Cup. I thought they did a phenomenal job. I think you guys will all be happy with seeing them at the Crockett Cup. But we also saw like, you know, the new pairing of Alex Misery and Crazy Steve.
Yeah, I like that combination. Crazy Steve's a little bit bigger, but I liked that they paired very well together. I think maybe they should do something more with them.
Yeah,
I think they're the best two of that group too.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, you know, Steve's a little bit more of a veteran. He could probably help Alex Misery out a little bit, and they had a good look. I liked that combination. There was another. I also absolutely loved Mondo and Slade. I was highly impressed with them. Get them matching outfits quick, and they'll be they could be major focuses in the NWA. I picked them as the next year's Crockett Cup winners, maybe even future tag team champions. They were very good. I'd like to see them against Blunt Force Trauma. I'd like to see them against Murnochs. I'd like to see them against the Immortals. I like that combination a lot. So I think that's something that was really good. Who else did I like? I actually was slightly impressed with the Slime Balls. Everybody knows I wasn't a fan. I just don't get them. But they looked really good throughout this tournament. The only thing I didn't like is while they were baby faces for 2 matches and then heel for one more, you know, that inconsistency is not good for building onto a contender, even though the fans really wanted desperately to like them, and they did like them for the first 2 matches. They didn't get the attention and love I think they were going to get if they were baby faces for the third. But there was a lot of things that did impress me for that, especially in the tournament. Tournament was the one that most people were concerned about. There was kind of like almost an afterthought, but I thought they did a good job. The disadvantage or the advantage of taping this is they probably should have altered the schedule around and put matches in certain different orders, but then presented it on TV the right way. I think that would have been better overall for the tournament, because unfortunately by the final, people were quite worn out.
Yeah, and I mean, like, that's the problem too. Like, you're serving 2 different masters with the way that the taping schedule is, where you know, you're filming for the signature live events, but you're presenting the event for a live audience. And when you're doing it for the live audience, you know, obviously the matches are going to be built for that live event crowd, where I think it would have been better. You know, I think having some of those matches earlier on in the night might have been more beneficial. And not that I'm complaining, because I absolutely adored Natty versus Kenzie. I feel like that should have been your main event. And I know where this is the Crockett Cup, and the main match should be for the tag tournament finals. But you know, that crowd was at a fever pitch for Kenzie and for Natty, and I feel like there was certainly it hurt the world title match and the tag team tournament finals going on after Kenzie and Natty, because it felt like the crowd itself was, you know, kind of tired. You know, like it was a long night of taping, and I felt like some of the energy kind of slipped away for those last 2 matches, and they were, for the most part, well, definitely the Crockett Cup finals I thought was a really good finals. I thought it was probably one of the better finals we've seen in a while. And then I feel like the world title match suffered again, because you had like such a fever pitch for Natty Kenzie, and then it like just tapered right off to the world title, and I don't know if that was a good booking decision.
Again, though, yes, traditionally, if this was a live signature event, or showed in its entirety on tape delay, yes, is the right order to do it. But because it's basically being chopped up into small pieces,
yeah,
I think they would have been better to switch it around and then showcase it like it was, because nobody says that matches have to be done in order. Nobody says that. A good editor will have that make it look like $1 million either way. Especially because also another disadvantage is a good chunk of the crowd left after the Natty match.
Yeah, I think some of them maybe thought that was the main event. And again, it's kind of hard too, because I know that the NWA is trying to keep the cards close to the chest, and they don't really want to give away the spoilers and all that stuff. But like certain things that came up across the show just kind of spoiled things. Like, for those of you who aren't, if you're not wanting to hear spoilers, maybe this episode isn't the one for you. So I'll give you 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2,
4.
1. Oh. You're not gonna get me. We had the Southern Six showed up with the U.S. tag titles, and now again that was as a result of what happened at Hard Times number 5. And that's not something that's been advertised on television. So right now, Alex Taylor is old 2-man, excuse me, 1-man 2 belts. He's a champ Taylor, holding the junior heavyweight title and the U.S. tag titles. We also found out, and again, if you read spoilers for Hard Times 5, you kind of already knew this, that Valentina Rossi and Tiffany Nieves with Miss Star are your NWA Women's Tag Team Champions. Now, again, that wasn't advertised. It wasn't advertised as a tag team title match. So when they faced the Island Girls, it was just it became a title match, and we didn't know that until we got there. There were a few other surprises, like Carson Drake was being advertised as defending the NWA Television Championship, but instead it was more of a what do you call it, Jaden? Is that match with
It was a match for the vacant championship. There's nothing special. People come up with all these names like Blunt Force, Flying Credenza, Elimination, Death Match. It's just all it is a match for the vacant championship. No title qualifier or anything stupid like that.
Yeah, and it was. Yeah, Over Metal says, doesn't that make Nieves 2-belt Tiffany? It does.
Yes.
100% does.
Tiffany 2-belt.
Yeah, Tiffany 2-belt. And the thing about it is, it's like there is such a robust roster. There's a lot of people on the roster that I think, oh, wait, I'm not a fan of a guy holding multiple belts in the same promotion. That's a light that could be on another person that needs it. That's exactly where I was going with that, Lou. I feel like having the roster is robust enough that you could have spread the wealth a little bit, not as much in the women's division, but certainly in the men's division. I don't feel like Taylor and Morton need to hold both the U.S. tag titles while Taylor's holding the junior heavyweight title. If he's going to be the U.S. tag champion, which I mean, Morton and Taylor have been wrestling out on the territory system a little bit, kind of like what the Kazana brothers were doing. If that's the case, then there's also some pretty solid guys who could be future world junior heavyweight champion on the roster. So I would be okay with that as well. And Rick is back. What's up, Rick?
Welcome back.
Sorry about that, guys.
No, all good. What we were talking about essentially is that during the course of Crockett Cup, because of the live audience is there, I mean, some things get spoiled, and like we learned that the TVMA are your women's tag team champions, Valentina Rossi and Tiffany Nieves. We learned that Taylor and Morton of the Southern Six are your U.S. tag team champions. That's something we weren't aware of. Again, and then some of the tag teams that were put together, we didn't know, right? We didn't know that. We didn't know that Slade and Mondo had worked together as a tag team before the Crockett Cup. We found that out this past Tuesday. And then as well as, with EC3 and PB Smooth, like now they are teaming regularly on the indies as well. So like in the territory and on the indies as well. So there is some interesting things that have happened because of the Crockett Cup that will lead up to the Crockett Cup. And of course, I'm sure Hard Times 5 will give us some more information too about a lot of this stuff.
I will say too, speaking of peanut butter crunchy and EC3, it's best I've seen EC3 look in the NWA.
I won't go as far to say the best that he's looked, but I'm certainly feeling that there's a resurgence in what he's doing right now. Now, I did hear the other guys talking about it, Scooby specifically, because he was there. And it's something I noticed too. Like he was up on the top rope and I could see that his legs were like, doing the whole, like, when you're working out and you've pushed as hard as you can with your legs and then they start shaking when you're doing the squats. That's what was happening with our man EC3. So I don't know if that's because maybe he worked too hard at the gym the night before or wrestling multiple matches that night was a little hard on the body. But I felt he and PB Smooth actually made a pretty good tag team. I mean, Jade, what did you think it was a formidable tag team? Could you see them being a regular tag team in the NWA?
I could see them, especially going to team up elsewhere. Right now, EC3 is not really in the title picture. He probably won't receive a NWA championship match for a while. He's already been national champion, and so now he gets a chance to win the tag team championship and get something under his belt. Unless he wants to be TV champion, I think that's the best thing for him.
Yeah, and it does. Remember how the NWA kept Eli Drake away from Nick Aldis during that first run of NWA Power?
Yes.
First season. They desperately wanted to keep those two away from each other, so much so that they put Eli Drake and James Storm as a tag team and put the tag titles on them while Nick Aldis was still, feuding with Marty, feuding with Trevor, and not really having a real path to Eli Drake or vice versa. And I feel like that was at the time, maybe that wasn't the best idea for the NWA, but I feel like putting EC3 in a tag team, allowing him to step away from the main event title picture will be more meaningful if he ever does come back to the title picture and challenge for the World Heavyweight Championship. It might mean a little bit more when that happens. And
Agreed.
then just to reiterate with EC3, I mean, he's teaming again with PB Smooth this Saturday, May 24th, and a promotion outside of the NWA. I believe it's still Ohio-based, but the Erie Sports Center, I'm not sure what the Big League Pro Wrestling, I guess. And then, of course, this Friday night, too, on the NWA YouTube channel, they'll be doing the Exodus Pro event where in a 6-man tag, EC3, Pretty Boy Smooth, and Pastor CeeLo will take on Carson Drake and the Exodus Pro Tag Team Champions, TME.
Can we bring up that first graphic again?
Yeah.
If you don't know Joe Keys, he's actually worked for Dog. He's very talented, so keep an eye on him. I don't know Jay Rock Daddy and Zach Nystrom, but Joe Keys is very, very good, so keep an eye on him.
All right. What else can you tell us?
Well, about the Joe Keys, or?
Yeah, about any of it.
He worked for Dog, and he was brought to attention by Dog by Eric Martin and Dirty Money. He works a lot in Delaware for Delaware Championship Wrestling, and he also works for MCW, and I believe that's the Maryland area.
Yeah,
he's very, very good, very talented. Put on a lot of muscle weight. He was a little thinner initially, but he's put on a lot of muscle weight. I think he's on the same supplement and exercise program as EC3 was. And he's got a lot of strength and a lot of talent. And I hope he makes a good impression on anybody watching that match, because he deserves a spot higher up in another company. So I think one day it'll be nice to see him in the NWA or someplace else, because he's got the talent to do it.
Well, and that's the thing, when you have the former world's heavyweight champion out there on the independents and out there, just taking dates wherever he can get them. I mean, at some point there is an opportunity for him to scout new talent, to see new faces, to see new people. and hopefully, find new potential talents for Billy to, at the very least, consider.
He also might just be looking for somebody. If he does a good impression, maybe he'll show up in Exodus Pro. That would be a good backdoor way to try to get noticed by the NWA, I think.
There you go.
Where's Alex Misery from? Where's he based out of?
That's a great question, and I don't know if he's still in the chat, but Mr. Misery, if you're still here, where are you wrestling out of?
I know for a while his father was based out of the Northeast.
Yeah. Well, I think they were up in Delaware, weren't they, or Maryland?
I thought it was New York, but maybe I'm wrong. I just remember he was around this area.
Let me. I mean, I don't know if he's still in the chat or if he's even willing to say, but I'm going to just check out Cage Match and see what it says. And it says he's from Puerto Rico, but that doesn't. I don't think he's still working in Puerto Rico. Let me go to let's see his X page, which is Unholy One Misery, and
free plug. Make sure you add him.
Yeah. Okay. So. Well, maybe this is old. Yeah, this is definitely old. It's from 2022, but he was wrestling a lot, and it looks like in Florida. So maybe Florida.
Florida.
Let me see what else I can find. On this Facebook page, I'm not going to give it out, Misery. I promise. It'll be our secret. His June 26th date. Looks like it's going to be in Florida. So I'm assuming he's based in Florida.
He's a Floridian.
A Floridian, sure. Yeah, that's the right thing to say.
Okay. I was just curious because I know Slade is a more Northeast guy. And I was going to say, because if Alex Misery was based in like the Northeast, the promotion that's been running in New York that has an NWA affiliation, he might be a good fit. Plus, I know Florida has a lot of smaller wrestlers too, but the Northeast has a lot of good talented smaller wrestlers. It's a good way. I think would have been a good way to grow. That's why I was curious.
Yeah. And then something I do also want to bring up as well is that we're looking, we're talking about what's next for the NWA. We saw, let me first acknowledge our whoop, whoop, our juggalos and juggalettes here in the crowd. Kerry Morton got the JCW heavyweight title tonight on Lunacy. I think that means he beat Willie Mack. So even though that's not really NWA related, it is NWA adjacent. And I think you'd have to celebrate anytime Kerry Morton can get a victory over Willie Mack. I don't know what that does for the NWA in terms of Kerry Morton and JCW, but good for Kerry on that one.
Since you got a press pass now, does that make you an NWA adjacent?
Yes, very much so. I'm an NWA adjacent. It's, for all kidding aside, it was good for one night. It's not like I can just show up to, Tampa studios and be like, all right, got to pass like Wayne's World,
What does it say? Does it only say Crockett Cup?
It just gives the day of 5/17/2025.
Is that permanent marker? Because if you take the non-permanent marker, if you take the non-permanent marker over top of it and then get it all good coded and wipe it away, it'll disappear the permanent marker.
That's amazing. You're trying to get me to defraud the National Wrestling Alliance?
Yeah, you got the press pass now.
Rick, I notice how Rick, who is usually the voice of reason, is like, yeah, sure, why not? Sounds good to me.
I mean, I would pull off stuff like that just for the record. Get into free shows,
One of my
press pass. You can now get exclusives for alliance-wrestling.com. The number one source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance.
One of my favorite stories to tell is the NWA 70th anniversary show. Now, at the time, that was back when Dave Lagana was doing a lot of the production and really wore all the hats for the NWA back then. And, having been very close with Dave Marquez, I did develop a little bit of a friendship with Dave Lagana. And I asked him, like, hey, man, how do I get in early to the show? And he's like, oh, just bring me some Coke. But I don't think he actually meant the soda. But I did bring him some soda Coke. And I showed up to the area, the Nashville Fairgrounds, and I don't know if either of you have ever been to the Nashville Fairgrounds, the old one.
No.
I just walked in. I walked in like I fucking owned the place, and nobody, the security didn't stop me. And because I know Colt Cabana, well, I mean, I don't know him, but we've been to China together, so I can say I know him. And because I watched Willie Mack grow up in front of my eyes, going from, you know, training to actual like superstar in the world of professional wrestling. You know, Willie Mack says, "Hey Jay," Colt like remembered me, kind of gave me the finger point, and I just walked in carrying my camera and a case of Coke, and I just walked right in. Nobody said anything. Oh, the security guys they just all looked and they didn't think of anything.
It's nice to know that you and Colt, by the way, spent 3 nights in China.
We didn't. Son of a bitch, you. No, when in China, he was more aloof than Nick Aldis was, but at least when he was in China, he was hanging out with Lagana and Marquez. I think Nick Aldis might have been playing with Barbies or something. I don't know. He just wasn't around. James H. Jackson says, "Come on, Jay, think of the big picture here and forge that pass." Oh my! At first, I thought you said forget the pass, and I'm like, I don't want to forget the pass. Oh, you're just telling me to get in.
Like I said, dry erase marker, go over it, let it sit for a minute, and then wipe that down, and then you can have that pass all over.
I've been afforded 2 passes for the NWA. The first time was in Wenzhou, China. The second time was at Crockett Cup 2025. One thing I noticed, Overmetal said EC3 is coming to Tom's aid in the future. Tom looks to be facing Matt Cardona and Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling. That's something else I did want to acknowledge too. I don't have the video handy. I'm sure you guys can find it on X or on really, Instagram as well. Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling is already putting out, advertisements, whatever you want to call it, for their July 5th event, which is going to be happening in Toronto. And Matt Cardona will be on that card. And so will our very own world champion, Tom Latimer. In fact, if you look at Tom Latimer's schedule, I mean, he's got some things already coming up over the next few months. I mean, on July 5th, he will be in Montreal for Resurrection. Not Resurrection, excuse me. That's the one that they just did. No. Okay, yeah, no, it is Resurrection. He will also be in London on June 19th as part of the Southwest Wrestling, and I'm sure he'll be defending the title there. So our World's Heavyweight Champion already has dates lined up since retaining the championship. And, of course, this Saturday he defends against the Beer City Bruiser at the Beer Market Brawl. Of course, that event is shaping up quite nicely for Joe Kazana Promotions, and we can go. I have a few more of the matches if you guys care to see it, but
sure.
We also have the triple threat tag team match of the Country Gentlemen versus Knox and Murdoch versus the Troublemakers. Now, it's not officially sanctioned as a world title match, but considering that Murdochs are still the champions, I would not be surprised if that happened.
Can I add something real quick?
Yeah, please.
All right. I know that it's kind of mandatory if you're an NWA star, if you wrestle somewhere else, to have that NWA logo. But they're an NWA territory, then the logo is already there, that they have to have it everywhere on every wrestler. There were 16 wrestlers in a match. Does each one have to have that NWA logo?
I agree with you on that. I can see where it's a little bit redundant, but I guess maybe it's malicious compliance, right? Maybe they're just, all right, Billy, if this is what you want, this is what we'll do.
I wish I was in a singles tag. Well, not a singles match, but a 1-on-2 tag match, because I really like to see Murdoch versus the Country Gentlemen.
That match, I think, would have been very good on Power. And again, that's the great thing about Joe Kazana Promotions is this potentially could end up on their YouTube channel. So that's something else to look out for. Plus, we have the Page Sisters in action as they'll be taking on Notorious BBJ and Tess Warren. I don't know much about either one of those ladies, but I know that, Kenzie and Kylie had very solid outings at Crockett Cup, with Kenzie retaining and Kylie doing the JOB for Markova, but it was still had a really solid match, I would say.
I thought Kylie was blonde.
her hair color changes about as frequently as the wind changes. She's had pink hair, blonde hair, black hair, and red hair. What's your favorite, Jaden?
Well, you know me, I love redheads.
Of course you do. Let's see. And then, okay, so getting back to Tom Latimer, my apologies. Overmetal does point out that it kind of seems like perhaps maybe Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling is getting ready to book Cardona versus Tom Latimer. Now, I don't believe that those two have actually shared a ring together for the world title. I'm going to do my research on that right now. But, Rick, what do you think about the former world champion coming to Maple Leaf Pro to challenge the current world champion?
It's money. It's money. It's Cardona is one of the biggest professional wrestlers on the independent circuit, and I don't think he got a fair shake because he was basically stripped of the title due to injury. So him coming out and challenging Tom for the title, I think it's going to be fun. It's going to be something exciting to watch, and maybe he deserves that title shot.
How many different?
I don't think he's going to win the belt, obviously, but sorry.
Sure.
How many different champions has Cardona been in the ring for the NWA World Title? Was he? I know there's EC3. He has Tom coming up. There was Murdoch and there was Tyrus, which still only counts as one, even though it should count as two. There you go, Willie.
That was good.
Was he in the ring? I think he was in the ring with Aldis too, right?
So let's see. Yeah,
for the world title.
Yeah, he was.
There was a.
So at the NWA Crockett Cup 22, Cardona beat Nick Aldis with special guest referee Jeff Jarrett. Not a world title match, but Cardona defeated Tim Storm. Cardona beat Murdoch for the title. Cardona defended the title against the Pope. Cardona defended the title against Tyrus. And that's not accurate. He lost the title due to injury. Trevor Murdoch would regain the title. Cardona would next have an opportunity for the title in a triple threat match where Tyrus won the title. And then Tyrus had a one-on-one match with Cardona, which he was successful in retaining the title. And then EC3 defended the title against Cardona at a premier wrestling event, the GLCW Blizzard Brawl. And then EC3 also had that ultimate match of death against Cardona at the Revolution tapings in Florida for NWA Power.
Okay. Yeah.
So
now
Cardona had
that match. Sorry.
It was a very forgettable match. So Cardona does have a lot of matches for the world title as well as title defenses. And the only two times he's been in the ring with Tom Latimer, according to Cage Match, is Cardona and Knox took on the team of Strictly Business, which was Adonis and Latimer, and the team of Tim Storm and Trevor Murdoch going back to December 2021 on a power taping. And then again at the Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling event Mayhem, where Billy Gunn, teaming up with Bishop Dyer, defeated the team of Cardona and Latimer in Windsor, Ontario, Canada. So that matchup, I think, would be actually kind of interesting, for Cardona. At this point in the game, I think that Tom is a better answer as world's heavyweight champion, but that doesn't mean there isn't money to be made with Cardona. And I think Maple Leaf is tapping into something that NWA fans might be interested in seeing. And maybe not even just NWA fans, maybe just wrestling fans in general. Tom Latimer is one of these guys who I think passes the sniff test. If you put him on a wrestling poster, whether it be Raw, SmackDown, Collision, Dynamite, whatever it is, he looks the part. He looks the part of a world's heavyweight champion. And Cardona, God bless him, same thing. You put him on a poster with any other wrestling company and he fits exactly in. So it might be good.
Yeah.
Are we having a problem with the audio? Is anyone besides Willie having issues with the audio here? Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, everybody sounds fine for me. Am I sounding like C3PO?
Maybe it's just you, Willie.
It's still early. I
Maybe,
think it dipped out on my end for a second, but you came back.
maybe Tyrus is eating some of the bandwidth. Oh, that's smirk.
Look at that face. It's a face that only can eat bandwidth. Double D says Kylie changes her hair more than Jay changes his underwear. Yikes.
Well, 2 or 3 times a year is not that much.
Jesus. Wow. Let's see. Where Overmetal said Cardona cost Tom the belt at Saw Win 1. This should be in an NWA ring. I don't disagree that it should be in an NWA ring, but that's the thing, man. I feel like, Scott D'Amore and Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling is certainly showing NWA fans that you could very much book some premier talent against the world's heavyweight champion if you're willing to pay for it. And, to Billy's credit, putting Tom and Rhino in the match together, I thought was brilliant. And the lead up to Crockett Cup, Tom faced Silas Young. He faced Heath Slater. I mean, it's not like he wasn't facing some more well-known names in terms of independent wrestling. But, why not put this match on a Power or a Signature Live event? And as we get closer to the NWA 77, they burned through the Colby Carino match. He got his title shot, so it's not necessarily important for him to be put into the main event of the 77. And, as of right now, there isn't a top challenger within the NWA that is being presented as the guy that's going to challenge for that title, unless you count what maybe Aaron Stevens, with all the storytelling that they're telling on Power, maybe that might be something that happens.
Okay.
Just how I see it. James H. Jackson says more people will probably see the match if it's on the Maple Leaf Pro show. That's a stiff one, James. That's stiff. Double D says he can't see Jaden. I can see him just fine. He looks good to me.
I'm actually wearing my John Cena outfit.
James says the more chances we get to have high-profile NWA matches in front of new promotions and audience, I say we go for it. I agree with that. I don't know who would be the person responsible for, having Tom booked more frequently outside of the NWA. But I think any opportunity you have a chance to showcase the 10 pounds of gold, you do it. I don't know how many fans started watching Power because they saw EC3 wrestle in All Japan Pro Wrestling, but as an NWA fan, I felt like that was a very ceremonious moment for the NWA. It was a very we're here moment for the NWA. Now, they didn't capitalize on it. We didn't see the world's heavyweight champion go back to All Japan or an All Japan wrestler come to the NWA to challenge for that title. I feel like either one of those things would have been a very interesting proposition for the National Wrestling Alliance and probably would have gotten more people talking about it. But at the end of the day, again, to James H. Jackson's point, I think more people will see Tom defend the 10 pounds of gold against his next challenger in Maple Leaf Pro than he would in the NWA.
Can I bring up something I've been actually thinking it might be a good point?
Yeah.
Did you hear about the destruction of Triller and how it might not be around much longer?
Really? I did not hear specifically about that. So if you break it down for me, because I do know that Triller has had some issues, but what's going on?
The stock is at an all-time low, and apparently a lot of the initial investors are looking to get out right now. And they forgot to file, I forget the form, which means they may not even be able to be a publicly traded company on the stock market very soon. And their current business model has not been drawing the income that they were currently hoping. And now with the AEW no longer being on there, and I think maybe I'm wrong, but GCW is no longer on there. Those were their biggest cash cows and their biggest people that draw attention to their product and to their service. I think they are in trouble.
May I ask a question to you, Jaden?
just
Where
did.
did GCW move to? Where did GCW move to?
I don't know. I know
If
I don't think they're working with them anymore. I thought maybe I was wrong, but I thought there were some issues between them.
Right. Yeah. I know a while back there was issues with them in IWTV because of them moving to Triller and concentrating more on that because at the time it was a bigger platform. And then IWTV kind of turned around, and I believe it was that they sued them, and then they ended up saying that they ended up, running a certain amount of shows on IWTV for their contractual obligations to fulfill that they had prior. So,
and I might be conflating the two together. Honestly, it's possible that I'm thinking maybe I'm thinking IWA TV and conflating it with Triller.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of professional wrestling on Triller, and it's just gonna in general, like fighting and other such things, and it's just gonna be a gigantic loss to combat sports industry, really.
So while you guys were talking, I did some Googling. Now, one thing you guys have to keep in mind too is that Triller, as the parent company, started off as a social media service very similar to TikTok, and they started doing like combat sports along with Triller. So it was like you had this social media app that was very comparable to TikTok, and then you had this streaming platform for combat sports, and that's where that was Fight and Triller, and they merged, I believe, like it was in 2020, and what I was just reading from what Meltzer was reporting, and Meltzer doesn't always get it right, but he's usually more right than he is wrong. And he said is that Triller is in a real bad financial state. They didn't file their 10Q. They're on the verge of being delisted from the stock. Their stock is under $1 a share, so they need someone to buy them right now because they're in trouble. And after several years of trying, Triller's TV's parent company, known simply as Triller, went public in 2024. It's been less than a year, and they are now in danger of being taken off the market. A 10Q filing is a document that public companies are required to submit each quarter to the SEC, and the fact that Triller missed their deadline is not a good sign. Meltzer wasn't sure exactly how Triller's current situation ties into the lack of Double or Nothing availability, but he noted that the wrestling promotion hasn't decided to completely sever ties with the platform, as the pay-per-view is still available for purchase in other territories. And additionally, Meltzer is under the impression that some wrestling promotions are now hesitant to work with Triller out of fear that they won't get paid if the company goes under. So, I mean, that's a lot to be said. There was also something in there that I was reading about Triller that they had lost. There was like it says a new regulatory bill. A new regulatory filing reveals huge net losses for the company and a massive bill outstanding for music licensing. Much like TikTok, Triller's short videos are often combined with music. So these are all pretty big. Now, this is a year old, so who knows? That's probably not a good example, but that article anyways. But the one that Meltzer said that just came out like a few hours ago. So there is something to that. And if Fight Triller does go out of business, that is not good for the wrestling economy, because there are fewer and fewer places that wrestling promotions are able to produce their content, in a pay-per-view setting. Obviously, the WWE did away with pay-per-views when it introduced the WWE Network. That those premium live events are still available now on their Peacock streaming service and Netflix outside of the United States. And for Triller, I mean, not that the NWA was the end-all be-all, but that relationship was severed several years ago. And if it does lose the ability to work with AEW, that's going to hurt them, as well as, it does sound like they're in trouble, and it sounds like that's not good for the wrestling economy.
Right.
Yeah, and it is not good. Try this in English now. I'm stuttering. It's not good for the wrestling promotions that are currently working with them. It's not good for people who want to invest in the company, even people who are afraid maybe to buy something or pre-buy a pay-per-view to make sure that it's done and over with. are less likely to do so. I wish DAZN had more pro wrestling, just because I like saying DAZN, even though I used to think it was DAZN for the longest time.
I thought that's what it was. It's not DAZN, it's the Zone.
DAZN, yeah.
What?
Did I break something there, Jay?
You did, because this whole time I thought it was DAZN.
DAZN, no, it's DAZN. Not a calzone, a DAZN.
I'm floored.
There's going to be there is other streaming platforms that combat sports could go to as well. You know what I mean? So, I mean, there are other options. It's just that this is probably one of the largest ones that there is. It's kind of, like you said, it's going to be a big blow to some of the companies that are on there and that have been on there for quite some time. OVW is on there. MLW is no longer on there. And I think that, I'm trying to think off the top of my head, but I know there was a lot on there at one point. House of Glory, stuff like that. A lot of guys. I'm thinking guys on the East Coast, so I don't know what else out in your area is on there.
Friend of the show, Andrew Pacina and Epic Pro Wrestling, they literally put all their shows up on Triller, and I had talked to him at one point asking him about that, because it was a few years ago, I guess it was last year, when there was some rumblings about Triller not paying on time and whatnot. And he's like, "Yeah, man, they've been good to me," which is, you love to hear it, but at the same time, like, apparently there is some issues there. So,
yeah, I had a friend that ran a show, and that aired 2 shows on there, and yeah, it takes a little while, but they did get the money on time as to when they were promised. Really,
that's really interesting.
Yeah.
In Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators, I mean, they put their events on YouTube as single matches, which I kind of think is the better way to go if you're on social media trying to get engagement.
Right.
That's what the NWA has started doing. Like, we're not seeing full events anymore on YouTube. It's just single matches, single serving matches. And I feel like that's actually a really smart way to go, because as Rick and I are both content creators on YouTube. Like, what we make, the content we make, the more it's seen, in smaller doses, the more revenue that we earn from the site. So
yeah,
I think Dog is actually putting it as both single matches, and then when all the single matches are up, maybe as a entire thing altogether. I know one of the main reasons that are doing in singles matches is because how damn long YouTube takes to upload anything anymore.
I'm a person that will, but like a lot of your regular everyday people that watch YouTube are a lot of young kids, and they're not going to sit there and watch videos that are 30 minutes, an hour. You know what I mean? Or even 2 hours, stuff like that. I sit there and I will watch it, but YouTube's primary engagement is a lot of children, you know what I mean? Or people like late teens, early 20s, stuff like that.
And I also feel like my kids, when we grew up, us older folks now, we grew up when we'd watch TV. We'd, Saturday morning, we got the cartoons on and a bowl of cereal. And for us, we probably, flipped over to the wrestling as soon as it was time. My kids, like when they watch YouTube, they watch some girl painting squishmallows and talking about how creative it is. And I sit there going, what the hell are we doing here, guys? This is an entertainment, but they love it.
Yeah.
And that's the only kind of long format content they watch. Even, both my kids, they're on the YouTube shorts and they just kind of go. It's like, whoa,
yeah,
you're not even getting anything out of this.
That's mostly what my 9-year-old son does. And then there's also like, he'll sit there and watch other people play video games. And that part I don't understand, watching somebody else play video games and reacting to it. It boggles my mind, different time, definitely, for sure.
Well, what they say, those who do can, those who don't, watch other people do it on YouTube.
I guess I've tried to do that, right? I connect the Xbox and I'll start playing some Fallout Vault 76 or Jason Friday the 13th games, and I'm trying to. Nobody comes in to watch old ass Jay Cal play video games. Like, that's not cool. That's not hip. I'm not nearly attractive enough for that market.
You
told
got
my wife she should, but she's like, no, I'm not really into it. I'm like, all right.
I was about to say, if you get your wife on there, they'll probably triple your viewership or quadruple.
I tried to get her to do Twitch, and she had a Twitch for about a week, and she went on one time playing Donkey Kong Quest on the 64, and she's like, yeah, this is boring. And I go, well, you got to talk to people. And she's like, nobody's there. I'm like, all right, you don't ever have to do it again.
She had a Twitch, but then she was no longer mad at you, and that Twitch disappeared.
I'm sure there's a joke to be made there, but
yeah, I'm trying to follow, but
I get it. The Twitch, she's twitching because I pissed her off. I get it.
Yes. Gotcha. Took me a minute.
Double D, the young man in the house, says a lot of my era, mid to late 20s, the Pat McAfee age crew run on YouTube as well. And it's not to say that I don't watch stuff on YouTube, right? I watch the Alliance late night. I watch some of Rick's stuff. So I watch a lot of the dog stuff. I see YouTube as like it's a mediary. It's meeting some of the stuff that I want that I can't find on not X, on Netflix or traditional streaming stations. But there are people who don't need Netflix because what they're watching is just available on YouTube.
I watch
a lot of classic wrestling on YouTube.
Yeah.
So sorry, Jade. I watch a lot of classic wrestling, 60s, 70s, 80s. Because that's just my favorite stuff. I go back and watch, and some things I just want to remember, and some things that just I'm learning about. I read about in a book or something like that, and look it up because I love the pro wrestling history. So it's like that's what I end up doing most of the time on YouTube is I'll read about something and look up some match from 1975 or whatever, you know what I mean, and sit there and watch it. And it's just YouTube is probably a great source for stuff like that, you know what I mean. Even like old MTV videos, episodes of 120 minutes, stuff like that, you know what I mean. So it's fun for things like that. I don't think I don't know where I was going with that. Sorry, guys.
No, that was
what I was saying mid sentence.
I got where you're going. You're like, hey, I use YouTube for this way, and YouTube is a great. I don't want to sound ungrateful for YouTube because it's amazing, right?
Yeah,
like YouTube it allows me to have a voice where there's like right now there's about 15 people watching this and listening to what I'm saying and what you're saying, and they're galvanizing behind the NWA. They're leaving comments, and we're discussing. We're creating this community. I'm grateful for YouTube. That gives us that opportunity. I can't go to Amazon and say, hey guys, I have this podcast and there's about 20 of us every week that go on. Can we go on your platform and you pay me for that? No, that doesn't happen. And, as much as Billy Corgan,
they're going to want millions of viewers, thousands of viewers to watch your show at one sitting. So they're not going to, platforms like that are not going to accept shows like yours or mine, you know what I mean? Because of the numbers that we do.
But there is an audience. I mean, like, look, every Thursday we're here, and we're not here talking to ourselves. There's always people in the chat, and so that's pretty crazy. And there is the advent of Wrestling Central that is coming to why can't I think of what it's called?
Roku.
Yeah,
which I'm a huge Roku guy too. Like I love Roku. I've been a very supporter since the beginning. I had the original Roku box made out of metal 20 years ago.
So I tried to get into Roku early on. In fact, we did one of those Airbnbs and they had a Roku, and the only thing I could find on to watch was like old episodes of Beverly Hillbillies. So like it kind of, in my mind, that's what Roku is Beverly Hillbillies. Yeah. But apparently there's a whole world out there that I'm totally missing out on.
There's a lot
of favorite avatar.
Yeah, there's a lot of great, channels like apps for it and stuff like that. Excuse me. There's other wrestling things. There's music things, movie apps that you can get. Like, you can find obscure movies that you remember from a kid. They're not on some of the mainstream, like Amazon or Peacock or what have you. So it's devices like Roku and what's the other one? Fire, whatever. They're just they're all amazing pieces. You know, Roku, I think I've utilized since, like I said, the beginning, and now they have like a live streaming channel, which is kind of awesome. I think personally.
I do think that and we kind of been bouncing around, so I apologize. I have a little bit of ADHD today. I feel like with the NWA moving to Wrestling Central, not moving, but landing on Wrestling Central with the older content, I feel like this is a great opportunity for them to, again, kind of woo some of the audience that used to follow them, you know, back in those days, and maybe even be introduced to an audience that just has refused to watch. I mean, again, we've talked about how Triller is having difficulties right now. When they left Fight, they left a lot of us stranded. Like, you know, Rick, I know you did, and I did. We paid for those pay-per-views. We paid for the streaming platform. And when that deal fell apart, we didn't get any notice, and we lost access to all that content that we had paid for.
And not for nothing, they didn't provide us with what they said they were going to provide us with either. They provided us with like maybe a quarter, because they said that there's going to be exclusive events for particular subscribers. Because I think they had it in 2 tiers. If you pay for it all at once, which was I think $50 a year, I think, and then or if you paid it monthly, which is $5 a month. If you bought the $50 tier, you would get extra events and all that. And we saw none of that. We did not see any, you know, random shows to say, hey, we're booking a show a month down the road, and then that's going to be an exclusive for this. Not one time did we get any of that stuff. So the NWA, Billy Corgan, I hate to say it, you know, you like to disappoint the people that are purchasing your products. So,
well, and in that clip from earlier, and I don't have it ready to play, but in the clip earlier, he said that there would be, you know, that there would be doing stuff specifically for that station. But again, I'm not holding my breath for that. He did, and I didn't get a good video recording of it, but there was talk that maybe something down the road that they would work with WOW, with Jeannie Buss and Dave McClain on doing, potentially they could work something together. And I'm like, that'd be great. And if it was a Wrestling Central exclusive, or maybe they're picking up some of the bill and the fan, you know, and it's available only on Wrestling Central, like a great way to get people to go to that channel.
I'm sorry. Does WOW, are there paid fans, or is it just like a TV studio where they let their fans in kind of a thing for free? Or is it like just for the TV, or you're not aware of which it is?
I've been to a WOW taping. I was supposed to go to 2 of them, but I got my days mixed up, and I was literally about to leave on a Friday, and the last day of taping was on a Thursday, and I had paid for those tickets, and I just got asked out. So, yeah, they do. I think, like a revenue share with the talent. So, like, if you buy tickets from the wrestler, I think that wrestler gets compensated more for the tickets that were sold to them. But yeah, you do pay to play, and it, like, I think for my daughter and I, it was like $40 each, so it wasn't cheap for us to miss the taping, which sucked. They did do 1 year, it was like a Mother's Day, they did free tickets for that event. You just had to make reservations, which we did, but then when we got to the event, there was just no there was no occupancy. They weren't letting people in. And it's like the day before Mother's Day, we were outside in the, you know, downtown Los Angeles, and it was about 80 degrees outside. I was like, yeah, we're not getting in.
I think it could be, you know, if it does happen, but is Billy just talking out his rear end, just saying stuff like that because they're both moving over to this streaming platform? I think I'm also, you know, very kind of leery about a new wrestling platform, because there's been several that have started over the years, like in recent years, that have just kind of fizzled away in under a year, after a few months, after a year. Look at, what was the Pro Wrestling Channel, or Pro Wrestling TV, that was on Roku for a little while. Yeah, and it just, like, there was no announcement. I mean, and you know, they were working heavily with EC3 and what the hell was the name of that thing that he did?
Control Your Narrative.
Yeah, that one. You know, they were heavily, you know, using that, like, and it just kind of just disappeared. No announcement, nothing. You know what I mean? And I think Maria Kanellis said it was running a women's promotion for that platform as well, which was actually, I thought that was very entertaining. And then there was like a lot of live like wrestling media, like podcast types, like that were generally on YouTube that were moving over there as well. And all of a sudden one day it was just gone.
So here's where I'm going to lend some credence to Wrestling Central. And again, what does Jay actually know? Not a whole lot, but here's what things that I've heard over the years, right? When the NWA landed on the CW app, it was never supposed to be on the TV channel, no matter how many times you guys think Sinister Minister ruined it by having a bag of fake Coke fall out of his pocket during the pay-per-view, like whatever it was. That was never the case. It was always supposed to be just on the app. And the story that I heard is that the production company that was responsible for doing the documentary, the Carneyland docuseries of Billy Corgan, was also tied to the production of WOW Wrestling. And at that time, going back onto the CW network, where both shows were on that streaming platform, not the channel, but on the streaming app, there was talk of potentially doing something. It never materialized. First, WOW left CW pretty quickly after that. Then the NWA left shortly after that. So obviously that never happened. Now them both being on this Wrestling Central app, yeah, I mean, I could see something potentially happening, but the two things we got to keep in mind are, we're talking about a lot of egos here. Jeannie Buss, I think she's the majority owner of the Lakers. She has a little bit of an ego. David McClain has a bit of an ego. Billy Corgan, no doubt, has a bit of an ego. And who's going to put who over? We're not putting Kenzie Page on an episode of WOW for her to do the JOB to anybody, and vice versa. It's not like they're going to put their top tier talent on the NWA program to have them look weak on that program. So if they could come to a détente, if they can come to some sort of agreement where all parties involved would benefit, then it would make sense. Then the second part of that is, Rick, the reason why I have a little bit more faith in this project as opposed to some of the other ones is that this is also part of Paramount. Paramount is the parent company of Wrestling Central. So I feel a little bit more comfortable knowing that Paramount, who I'm not saying is the world's greatest entertainment company, but they have a history of, creating these vehicles. And I'm not saying that Wrestling Central is going to be the end all be all, but if there's a way to gain for Paramount while promoting wrestling, they successfully had TNA wrestling on their station for quite some time. There was some problems with it eventually, but
yeah,
they had TNA wrestling on the station.
How many people got that channel? That's the other thing. When TNA was on there, that was still a channel that not a lot of cable systems got. I got lucky, or it also depended on your cable package as well.
Yeah.
It was kind of a higher up channel as well. Because I remember I was listening, I'd listen to, what's his name? Brian Alvarez, and he would always claim he doesn't have a channel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All the time. That he's not paying for, an extra cable package just to get that. And, I just so happened to get lucky and I would watch it. And I got back into it after not watching it for like 8 years. I stopped watching in 2010, started watching in 2018. I thought it got really good around that time period. I just discovered I had it by accident. So, then I think they traveled going back and forth a couple different channels after that, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, well, I know that they jumped once they lost Paramount. They were like on Voyage America or something like that. Some weird, really obscure channel. Destination America.
Yeah, yes. And I remember Destination America. Yeah, I used to get a lot of wrestling on Destination America before there's actually a cable channel. It was on a UHF station, and I got the local affiliate, and there would be wrestling every day of the week on there for anything from USWA, Smoky Mountain, Global, and then on Saturdays they would rerun everything that ran through the week and end up being like 6 hours of wrestling. So
yeah. And look, this is very. What are we talking about with Wrestling Central? Like, obviously, WOW and NWA programming are supposed to be the anchors for the channel, but
right,
we're still in the infancy. They haven't even announced a premiere date.
Mhm.
They haven't, like, if you go to Roku right now and type in Wrestling Central, at least it was on Tuesday, there's nothing there. It doesn't
Right.
exist yet. This is something that is going to be put into play, and who knows what kind of opportunities will come from this. I'm going to say now, and very comparable to what they were saying when CW was happening, when they landed on the app. This could open up some doors for them. It also could do absolutely nothing for them. At the very least, that they will earn revenue from that extensive library that they have. That is, as of right now, you can't even really watch. There's
You can't
matches
see
on
anything.
YouTube.
I mean, yeah, you can't even go back and watch the first season, second season, none of that stuff that they own. You know what I mean? Which is kind of depressing in a way, because I thought the launch of the Lightning One era with the television, with the power, excuse me,
Yeah.
that was the launch, but the launch of the television series. In that first episode, I remember, I think you may have announced it or whatever, said something, and then I found out about it, and I was just like, I got so excited. I said, every Tuesday, 6:05, nobody better bother me, because I was like blown away and so excited. And now you cannot watch any of that stuff. And it's kind of depressing to think about. There's a lot of great footage on there. Colt Cabana, Ken Anderson, the Pope, just the talent was like just next level.
Well, and you think about all the talent that went from there to go on to do better things, like Thunder Rosa, even
Yes.
Camille,
Yep.
Ricky
Eli Drake,
now Ricky Saints, LA Knight,
Yep.
Eddie Kingston. I mean, Eddie Kingston was the ROH World Champion and the New Japan Strong World Champion at the same time. I mean, I'm not saying that that's the end all be all, but again, these guys had some significant, stock, and it all came from started off on Power. And it's one of those things where, like, if this is a gateway, if we can go turn on the Roku, and then on Tuesdays at 6:00 there is an old episode of Power, or if they get a 3-hour block where, like, every Tuesday from this time to this time you can watch the NWA, and it's like, hey man, that's good for the fans. And it's also, if they're earning revenue based on the advertising that the show is showing, then of course it's a win-win. This won't replace them being on a major network. This won't replace what they're earning on YouTube. This won't replace what they're earning on X. It's in addition to. So now that the NWA has just generated, when you think about the National Wrestling Alliance as a business, they generate earnings. They generate income from selling merchandise, from the tickets from live events, from broadcasting on YouTube, broadcasting on X. X works by engagement. YouTube works by views. And this would give them a fifth earning option. And if that means that the NWA now has a little bit more financial flexibility to perhaps maybe bring in some bigger names, or perhaps do a little bit more live events, like, I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to seeing besides the two, what else is going to be on there.
I just thought of something funny.
Sure.
Go ahead, Jaden.
Since they said it's all old footage, maybe they could put all the stuff that's been recorded over the last 3 months.
Maybe that's what they were talking
Get rid
about.
of
I mean, look, if we go back and look at the events from the last few years, I mean, all of those NWA pay-per-views, Hard Times, Always Ready, Enough Said, NWA 312, the Crockett Cups that were filmed and made specifically by the National Wrestling Alliance, not with help from ROH, the Empowered pay-per-view, the anniversary shows from 71 to 76, all of those were all produced by the National Wrestling Alliance. So theoretically, that's what you're gonna get. You're gonna get those all those pay-per-views, all those episodes of Power, maybe some of the 10 pounds of gold. It'll be interesting to see how they're going to do it, because if they give them a block and say, hey, look, every on Monday through Sunday through Saturday at 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. it's the NWA block, and they could just put pay-per-views there. They could put blocks of Power. They could put blocks of USA. I mean, they have a pretty extensive library from what they've done over the years, and putting it on that platform, it's going to be new to some audience members. for others, it's going to be like, oh, I remember that. That was a good time.
Yeah. I think it'll be fun to see the USA episodes again, the 10 pounds of gold episodes again. Because honestly, that was the trail for the NWA during the Lightning One era, the beginning, as how they kicked it off to get, and I found it very interesting, the whole 10 pounds of gold thing.
Real quick, I have to do this. Rumor has it that Paramount is going to relaunch a series regarding William Patrick Corgan's NWA. It's going to be called Mission Impossible. Jeez, Matt, that was stiff, brother. that was rough.
Does Billy Corgan also still work or own the footage from the Bosch library?
That's another interesting question, and I don't have an answer for you because there was a lot of mystery involved with that. Like Bruce Tharpe never owned that library. His agreement was that he was the custodian of the library that belonged to the widow of Paul Bosch. Now, since then, Paul Bosch's widow has passed away, and I believe the son has special needs. And I don't want to get into any of that because I don't know what all of that means, but that library might no longer even exist. I don't know if the NWA still has access to it, but the last time I checked, we haven't seen. Remember during COVID, and there was no new NWA content. They did one episode of the Paul Bosch library, and they just kind of threw up one episode intact, and then nothing else from the Paul Bosch library. You would think that during COVID, that would have been a perfect time to bring out that library and have that air weekly on YouTube. But they never did. So I don't know that they have access to it.
They could have, for a while they were creating podcasts during COVID. They have a lot of content. There was a lot of footage that was aired on the YouTube channel that's now, not visible. There was that, they used the footage from Primetime. The NWA related matches for those episodes of United Wrestling Network's Primetime.
They were calling those Shockwave. NWA Shockwave.
Yep. So I don't know if they have permission to use those or if they own any of that or have any kind of stock in that. And I'm sure David Marquez owns all that footage. But if they have those and they're allowed to use them, there's a lot of footage that they can go back over. Since 2019, 2018, 2019, something like that.
Yeah. Well, the Shockwave was during 2020, 2021.
Yeah.
And then like Overmill said, that's why they ran Power Play. There's a lot of content that's there that I don't think they're going to have a problem filling it up. And of course, if they're showing stuff so if they start off in 2019 with the first episodes of Power and then all the way to now, they're still filming. They've got the next 6 weeks already spoken for X. That means that they'll always have at least a 6 weeks lead on what they're going to put on the new platform. So I think what I'm trying to say is this is still good for the NWA. It's still good for the fans, but don't expect this to replace what they're doing on X or YouTube or anything else. This is an addition to, and I think that's what's going to be good about it.
I'm just surprised that they're still going to be going with X because I don't know who is watching them on X other than us because we really got to have to. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no.
To be able to talk about it. So
as I look here on X, and they keep encouraging me to try to get verified because they're like, you're missing out on engagement. They have the last time the last check that I have for them, they posted on May 20th. Today is May 22nd, so 2 days. They've had 26,000 views on this episode of Power. Now, again, we're just talking about the last episode of Power, but then if you go to the episode before the last one, leading up to the Crockett Cup, and that show had it'd be better if I look this way, had 40,000 views. So the each week the episodes have been less than the week before. The first episode that appeared on X was like over 75,000 views, and it's diminished down to now, last week's episode only has 40,000. This week, 2 days, it only has 20,000. And we don't know exactly what the engagement number is. Doesn't mean how many times it was watched from start to finish. It just means how many times somebody engaged that video, which can be just retweeting it without even watching it. So, all that to say is that things are changing for the NWA, and there are opportunities for things to move, both positive and negative. Rick, early on, we were talking about what what the Crockett Cup did. And I would like to kind of take this a different direction. Because you're like, was this the moment that the NWA took a step forward? And I kind of think it did. And Jaden kind of pounded this into my head over the weekend. It's that everything that they were trying to do made it a bigger event. They advertised Earl Hebner. Hebner was there, and he was there for autograph signings. They advertised Blue Meanie, who was also there for autograph signings. They advertised Natalya, who, of course, big deal, huge deal. Gail Kim was supposed to be there, but had to call out at the last moment because she had COVID-like symptoms, so that's understandable. They brought in Alexander Hammerstone because, again, he's one of the top free agents in pro wrestling right now. They brought Rhino in, former ECW World Heavyweight Champion. I mean, his career started in the 2300 arena. And all of these elements, even the Colognes, former WWE World Tag Team Champions, the Colognes being a part of the tournament, it did have a sense that it felt a little bit bigger. And, it just, from my own observation, stuff that I've posted on social media that people have reacted to, all it was the entrance of Natalya coming to the NWA ring, and that video has been seen now about 60,000 times on TikTok for me, and that's a lot more than I typically get in terms of traction. 3,000 people have liked it on Instagram. That's a lot more than I generally track. I put up the Rhino video. That one has been seen by a couple thousand. It's still a lot more than my traditional post will get. I put up the Colognes just the other day. A lot of people are watching that too. So it's like, I think it is resonating with some of the fans. A lot of people, Jaden even was telling me about this on Reddit. We're like, well, where can we watch this? We're excited. We want to see it. Where can we watch it? So about 6 weeks, it'll be on X. What can I tell you?
Well, I'll watch what I wasn't able to then. So, you know, which I don't know. I wish I could have been there because it was something I was really looking forward to. It's not too far from where I live, a few hours away, but
could have got some cheesesteaks with us.
Yeah, see,
Jaden would have bought you a cheesesteak.
Damn. Next time. Hopefully they'll come back again either later in the year or or sometime next year, because I'm sure they've ran there twice now. So I think that next time they come, provided there's no family emergencies, I will definitely be there.
Well, if you can't make dog, maybe you should come to the June 28th Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators event at the Sacred Heart Church located at 103 4th Street in beautiful, historic Riverton, New Jersey. Cheap plug.
Cheap plug. Yeah.
And I'm just replying to
company. I mean, seriously.
I know. Dr. Zirconium pays me. He doesn't pay me well. Not for much work I do, but he pays me.
You. So two things. First, I'm going to address what James H. Jackson said in the press. The press release says, and I quote, "The new channel will feature new weekly matches from WOW and the National Wrestling Alliance, along with a library of classic content." I'm only
put the comma in the right spot.
I'm only telling you what Billy said at the Q&A, is that it would be more of the historical content from the Lightning One era of the National Wrestling Alliance. Could there be new episodes on there? Absolutely.
What's to say that at some point down the road, give it like a month, two, whatever, that this app is in existence, that they decide to start a show that's exclusively for that, like something like a USA type show or something to that effect,
And that would be brilliant, honestly, if they did that.
I think so. You want to get people over to that platform. People that, they're, that may not watch X, may not have X, people that can't see it, or people that just, are just discovering and have that, or have that channel, whatever, the Wrestling Central channel.
And it could also be some of the matches that they've kind of designated as YouTube exclusive matches too. I mean, what's to say? It's their distribution. They could put up whatever they want. The other thing that I wanted to point out is Double D said, Rick, you could have seen what Jaden looks like in real life, but then I would venture to tell you, like, no, you wouldn't know what he looks like.
Last time I saw him, he was wearing a mask.
You're not going to find out what Jaden looks like. That's the whole point.
The hair versus mask match at the next time.
I lost at least one of those.
Have you really? You son of a bitch! You wore a mask all day and you've lost your mask.
No, I lost my hair.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. That's perfectly acceptable.
I'm not bald though. I'm a solar powered love machine. Make sure you get that right.
Haven't heard that in a while. I also have it on good authority that there's some fan cam footage of Kenzie versus Natty that has been seen 3.7 thousand times. And I heard that the person that posted that has probably made double what they normally make in a normal month for their YouTube stream. So
interesting.
Just saying. Let's see. Luthez says AEW's first press release said it was going to be sports based too. Things would always come as first advertised. Luthez, Lou, you're being stiff as F, brother. Sean Mega says, do you think Wrestling Central is the reason they haven't announced the next tapings?
No, I think they just don't need the footage.
I don't. Well, I
3 months
think
behind or whatever. So I don't think so.
Yeah, they're 6 weeks before the next taping. So there's not a rush. Like, they've got enough in the can. Like, James H. Jackson shared with me privately on Discord that, Billy's got a pretty extensive touring schedule coming up this summer. And, they've got 6 weeks of content in the can, before we even get to Crockett Cup, which is another 4 weeks. So that's almost 3 months of content.
Does Billy really need to be there on the shows? Does Billy need to be at the shows?
Who else is going to do bad commentary?
I was going to say we would actually, it would be so good for the listening audience to not hear him. And we haven't talked about Power yet. Let's, we're
going to get to that.
I do like, oh geez, this week was, this might have been the worst of the worst. That's all I got to say.
It wasn't good. But yeah, and one more thing about Billy's commentaries. I don't think it's just bad. I think it brings down Joe and Danny Deals.
Yes,
because
absolutely.
Now they're trying to explain the stupid shit that Billy says. And like, oh, well, yeah, boss, this, and this. It's like, come on, man.
What's worse, Billy Corgan on commentary or Velvet After Dark?
Billy Corgan on commentary. At least Velvet was nice to look at. Double D, your secret is safe with me, sir. I can't believe they made it that big. James H. Jack said, I'd rather see them work through what's in the can a bit before taping more stuff. Yeah, that too. Yes. I mean, look, if they don't film anything else with 10 weeks of content, I mean, that puts us basically, almost 3 months. That's August. And right around then is when you're going to be doing your anniversary show. So, geez, Double D. So, yeah, I don't think there needs to be a rush to do more content. And then, of course, you got Exodus Pro doing their entire event tomorrow live on YouTube on youtube.com/the NWA. And just real quick, I'm not going to get too much into what they're doing there, but they have, they're going to do the 6-man tag match with EC3, Pretty Boy Smooth, Pastor CeeLo versus Carson Drake, who's not the TV champion, and TME. You've got the Caesar's Crown match, which I don't even get me started on that. Cristiano Argentino versus Towel Boy. You're also
real quick. Maybe we should book Towel Boy versus Connor the Flag Boy. Okay, go
ahead. We've got Hayden Backman taking on a Handsome Harley in a Watch the Throne qualifier. It would help if I knew what the throne was even about. Tiffany Nieves will defend her Exodus Pro Women's Championship against Rachel Armstrong. A singles match between
that's my guy right there. That's my
Gunner
buddy,
Kane?
Jermaine Marbury.
Okay.
Jermaine Marbury is from my area, so
now you have a rooting interest now.
yeah, I do. Now I may actually watch it.
You also have the Watch the Throne qualifier with Vincent Nothing versus Ashton Day versus Anthony Green. And then, of course, the Midwest Championship is on the line when you've got Dante Casanova, who made his Power debut this past Tuesday, taking on Brandon Beretta, who also happened to be on this episode of Power as well. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's something that at the very least should be talked about. I mean, that you're getting a full 3-hour event taking place from NWA Pro. Some people argue that's one of the better territories within all the National Wrestling Alliance. So at least you have that fresh content.
There's that.
I think Anthony Green's from my area too. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
He's from Mass, I believe, right? Didn't he used to run shows in Massachusetts like years back?
Anthony Green, I thought he was from New York, so
oh, maybe didn't he run the 01 USA affiliate or something at one point? Could have sworn that was him.
That's my mistake. I always thought that was well, we had one here in New Jersey too, so I always thought that was a New Jersey one, but maybe there's maybe another one.
Yeah, I'd have to look it up, and I'm sure it's I heard it in an interview years and years ago. So
it's very possible. I mean, people do all kinds of stuff.
Yes,
people actually enjoy watching Dave Dolan call him a daddy bear on YouTube. That's a shoot, brother.
He's a kind of a nice guy when you just talk to him without being in a singlet.
Or when you're spending money.
Or when you're spending money. One more thing I want to point out, too, is that Tom Latimer is also scheduled to defend the NWA World Heavyweight Championship in Rome. And I believe that is taking place on, I want to say, August 19th. But it's in like that. I think that might be Italian, so I don't know if I'm saying that correctly.
I wonder if EC3's jealous because he actually is closer to Caesar than Texas Pro is.
Well, yeah, it's all uphill from here, I guess, brother. But yeah, so all that being said, let's get to briefly. We'll talk about this week's Power, and then we'll call it a night because we're getting up against the hour already. But this was again, from the tapings that took place back in Tampa prior to, back in February. These tapings took place.
We're almost in June, and they're still airing stuff from February.
Yeah,
that's just crazy.
It's disappointing, but that's what it is. Like nope, that's not the right one. Let me keep going. Well, yeah. Okay, what am I doing wrong here?
You're promoting a podcast about the NWA.
Yeah, I thought I had. Okay, so oh, that was last week's. Okay, then we had this week's. Nope, that's the same one. Okay, well, I guess I don't have a list ready to go of the matches, but
okay. I have an article an article opened up here that's got the results in it. If you
we'll let you lead the charge. David Valentine says, "J-Cal, check out the new NWA Chicago World Heavyweight Championship belt. I've seen it. It's absolute dog shit. I don't know who approved that. I mean, I guess Billy did. And I'm not a big fan of the deco design that he's going with his Chicago belt. We know that Texas also has a very comparable design. It's the same thing as the women's television championship. These are garbage designs, and it's obviously somebody who doesn't understand the
what a championship should look like.
Yeah, like I mean, it's kind of funny. Like just today on my Google Photos, it came up of a bunch of title photos that I've taken. Now, most of them were from the United Wrestling Network, so the Hollywood Heritage title, the United Wrestling Network World Championship. A lot of great looking belts, and I'm just thinking like, even if it's a more simple toned down design, like the Chicago belt is just god awful ugly.
Yeah,
I think they had a coupon they got from the Clipper that's for BOGO for fugly belts.
That could be the only explanation because these belts are goddamn ugly.
Where can I view these? On the individual territories social media, or are they posted? They don't put. Do they post like territory related stuff on the actual NWA page, or just their own territories have to post stuff?
If you go to the alliance-wrestling.com Discord page, you'll be able to see them. I've tried to.
I am a member. I just never use Discord.
I know. I messaged you 100 times and you never write back.
You know how to get in touch with me.
I didn't then.
Otherwise,
I didn't then.
Well, don't do it at 6 o'clock in the morning either. You know, because I will not respond. I make that mistake sometimes. I'll message you, Jay, if I see something when I wake up, and I keep forgetting you're 3 hours behind me.
But you know, like my day starts.
But you answer. So. Yeah, but you answer. So that's the part that's like, damn.
Yeah, no.
If I'm sending to you at 6 a.m., it's because that's when I have time to actually do something. Yeah.
All right. So I'm having no luck finding the title right now on Discord, but that's because obviously I need to see it now, and that's why I can't find it. But let me see if I can find the Texas one. Dog Pound.
I know it's on the Reddit pages too.
Well,
and they are ripping them apart. Well, the Texas one, they haven't even showed the Chicago one.
Okay, I think I have the Texas
ugly belts. Yeah,
I have the Texas title, so let me pull that up.
They're better looking than the NWA Mountain State belts, though.
Not by much.
At least they're real metal and not sheet metal.
Not by much. I'm trying to pull it up, but I had to delete some files off of here because we had too many files on here. Here is the NWA Texas title. Oh, come on, man. I have to delete a few more files, apparently. Hey, thanks for everyone that voted to get me to the Crockett Cup. You guys failed to deliver. I had to lie to my wife and tell her that we did, so. And I don't think we need tag team war rules anymore, considering they haven't done a tag team wars event in a while. That's still relevant. We'll just delete that, and hopefully that'll make room for it. All right. We're on the fly, guys. We do this shit live to our detriment sometimes. Oops. Well, there we go. All right. There's your Texas championship.
What the hell?
Yeah. Yeah, you love it? I know you love it.
Here's the thing.
Love it.
Here's the thing that really bugs me about this. There is better looking and probably larger belt buckles in Texas than that.
I mean, it looks like they're trying to go, kind of old school. You know how like a lot of old school belts are like just really fugly, but they have a certain charm to them. But then it's got too much something modern that just doesn't fit in. You know what I mean?
So
like that star in the middle, it just looks ridiculous.
There's Chicago.
The Chicago actually looks better, but that doesn't say much.
Yeah, it does look better, but it looks like it's something from the news. I don't know, like the logo.
They both look awful to me, and I don't know why. Billy Corgan is an artist. He is a musical genius. I'm not going to deny that at all. That dude rips on the guitar. He makes amazing songs. He's an artist. I don't know how you could be an artist and be like, yeah, that's going to represent my brand. Yeah, this looks great. Good job, guys. They're so understated. They're so they feel very unimportant. And I get it, these are territory titles. But, and then with all that being said, you go look at the Exodus Pro titles and they're not much better. So I don't know. I don't even know what to say.
Do you remember the CWA belt in Memphis? And it was made by somebody who actually designs.
It looked like it was.
It had actual stained glass in it, and it was not retractive at all.
License plates. Oh, okay. Oh yeah, that one. Yeah. But do you remember what was it? The AWA belt was made in a prison or something like that. That was the rumor.
Yeah, but that was gorgeous.
That's what I heard.
At least comparatively to, I like the old AWA Big Silver.
Actually, both of them. Yeah, I actually had a replica I just sold last year. So
Of the big silver?
It was one of my favorite pieces. Yeah.
Why'd you sell it?
Yep. Just because I'm not really collecting stuff. I don't really collect as much, you know. I don't know why.
Can I show off something that I bought recently?
Absolutely. The NWA TV title, Red Strap.
Yeah.
No?
Did I already show that off to everybody? Is that old news?
You put it
we were
over
talking
every
about
week.
how the black strap's better.
I think I like the Red Strap. I mean, I do. It's beautiful. I do like both of them, but I think the Red Strap shines.
Can I hear? Oh, never mind. I don't have enough space on this thing. Never mind. I'm not going to show anything. You see nothing. All right, let's talk about Power. Let's get through it quickly. We got 10 minutes. Let's go, Rick.
8.
Yeah. It was Daisy Kill and Talos against Damian something and Dante Casanova. This match was okay to start off. It just the ending, everybody looked confused.
Dante Casanova has a great look. I think that guy, and I'm not saying PB Smooth is being shoved down our throat, but he's getting a lot of FaceTime on Power now, being the tag team partner with EC3. Cool. This kid Dante Casanova, I think both him and Fenrir look like they should be on Power right now, at least in terms of their look, their size, and their ability in the ring. I'd rather watch those guys on Power than some of the other guys that they keep putting on TV. Casanova, to me, is future superstar written all over him. That guy, he should be on TV now, like all the time.
Yeah.
In one part, Billy did say, I've been scouting this guy for 7 months. I'm like, 7 months? And you haven't found a way to bring him onto the main show till this point? And then he even said something like, maybe he would make a good member to the Power roster. And I'm like, you just put him on the show. That he's on Power right now.
Yeah, he just says, that's one of the things I say. He just says stupid things that, like you said, it brings down Joe Galli's greatness. I think Joe Galli's fantastic, but it's like him and Danny Deal's got to dumb themselves down a little bit because he's there. And it's like, they could be a very intelligent commentary team. I mean, Danny Deal's, and I've even said this on Twitter, that he is comedic gold for that show. And there's many times I just burst out laughing at some of the things he says. And Joe Galli is just like a very old school style announcer, and he's very good at what he does.
They also build Fenrir at 6'1". I'm like, dude, his brother's not 6'1".
Is it Fenrir? Like the wolf from Norse mythology?
Probably.
Okay.
I didn't write it down. I literally, I'll be honest, I just didn't have it in me today to do like a full deep dive into this week's episode of Power. I know he was trained by Gangrel at his wrestling academy in Florida. That's probably where they got him from. He's done stuff with FTW, which is now more or less recognized as a member of the NWA. But I just wasn't. I was like, he is not 6'1". And he was dwarfed by Talos because Talos is a big dude, but
he's gigantic.
Yeah.
And he's not. I tell you, he moves terribly in that ring. It's like watching he's the really big tall one, right? Am I getting this right? But yeah. He just moves like a worse Kevin Nash, I guess. In a way.
Yeah.
That's just what I thought of. Like Kevin Nash back in the day when he was in his prime, without taking a step forward and hurting himself, but he was actually pretty decent at what he did in the ring. This guy moves like a worse version of him.
Agreed.
Yeah, I saw him at the Crockett Cup, and it's funny how the Ray Harryhausen claymation Talos moves a lot better.
All right, the next spot was I'm going off of memory now. Is the triple threat match for the TV title. This was for the 7th title defense. It was a triple threat match, which featured our boy PB Smooth and his 5 head, along with Baron Von Storm, taking on everybody's favorite Carson Drake. And knowing that this match, we knew the results because we were at the Crockett Cup, obviously. You knew this match if you saw the results of the Hard Times 5. I mean, what did anyone really expect from this? Was I expecting to see, lightning in a bottle here? Was I expecting to see, Steamboat versus Macho Man from WrestleMania 3? No. Tim Storm, as much as I love the person and the guy that used to be our world's heavyweight champion, he's not that guy anymore. And him in the ring is hard to watch. PB Smooth is still a little green, and some of that gets hidden while teaming with EC3. But in this match, it's like he didn't have an opportunity to tag out. He was the main focus for this match. And again, Carson Drake just does nothing for me. I get it. You guys love him. This just, again, I don't get it. This match.
What do you mean, you guys?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I never put him over.
The people in the chat who put him over. Double D's put him over. I think Overmetal's put him over. Ryan Davis has put him over. A lot of guys have put over Carson Drake, and I don't get it.
And there's a good argument why pot should not be legal.
Hey, man, I don't care what drugs you use. Just keep Carson Drake out of my wrestling. I liked him better when he was Jordan Clearwater.
That comment that Sean Mega made in the chat, Tim Storm should replace Billy on commentary. Tim Storm was a fine commentator, play-by-play man, in the booth, for however many years. He was fantastic. He used his experience, as a performer for, decades or whatever. Why he's not in the booth now, and then they created this gimmick, go figure. Maybe he just wanted to do, one last run as a performer. But I love the guy. Put him back in the booth, though, because, he's great in the booth, I think.
They created a gimmick for him that they knew would not take a toll on him. He doesn't bump as much. Notice he hardly bumps now as Baron Von Storm. And him and Jack Stane were going to be the tag team to win the U.S. tag titles. Jax would take the bumps. Tim would come in with the claw. It'd be a very safe, as safe as you could be in the wrestling gimmick for them. And then once they won the titles, they'd have a few months of a reign. And then I think both of them were going to step away from the ring. Obviously, that didn't happen. Rest in peace, Jack Stane. I still miss that guy every day. Tim he doesn't want to let go. And I said the same thing about Ricky Morton. I don't want to watch Ricky Morton wrestle, but I could also understand not ready to let go. And Tim is at that age now where, his best days are long gone. And I have all the utmost respect for him, but I think it's time to step away. And then
I like how that pass is it's hypnotizing me. No, keep it up.
No, I can't have you being hypnotized.
It makes me think that Power was a good show this week.
I caught myself looking at it a few times too. The fan's over here, so it's blowing it. I'm like, pretty. Yeah, okay. PB needs to go away and turn up somewhere else under a hood with lots of appendages attached to distract people.
I thought he was talking about the public broadcasting system. PBS.
Yeah, I was. Huh? Yeah.
They're in trouble too. They cut the funding. He should just wear a big headband like Sean Waltman.
A big headband. What are they going to use? One of those tents they put on for the circus?
Hey, whatever it takes, brother. And then what was the main event, Rick? Because I don't remember.
It was Black G's and Big Strong Mims against Mondo and Slade. And this was just okay. It wasn't too bad.
Okay, so again, G's is, he's not necessarily retired, but he's not an active wrestler. So anytime he steps in the ring, you're not going to get like a 5-star match. And that's not an insult to G's. It's just that's the way it is.
His days are behind him in a way. He was a fantastic performer at one point, in the New England independent circuit, I thought.
But similar to him and Mims don't really have a lot of chemistry as a tag team because it's not something they've done a lot of. And if they did more of it, maybe it would make sense. But this also kind of felt like almost like this could have been like a Crockett Cup elimination match. And they might have filmed it as such because we hadn't seen Mondo and Slade before. And they looked good. Unfortunately, Rolando was with them, but they looked great. And, had I known that they looked that good, I would have been probably less impressed with them at Crockett Cup because I wasn't sure what to think. They looked phenomenal at Crockett Cup. They looked pretty good here too. And as a tag team, I want to see those guys wrestle more as a tag team. And I don't know if that's the trajectory that Mondo had when he came to the NWA. And I don't know if that's what Slate was hoping for when he came to the NWA, but both those guys as a tag team really hit the fill for me. And Jaden, I know that you were impressed by them as well.
Yeah, I expected them to be good. Because again, I knew Slade and I knew Mondo, and Mondo's definitely been going to GNC and picking up some of that creatine.
Sure.
He's looking like a massive beast. I have to find out. You know what? I want to find out if Mondo's still living in New York, because if so, I'm going to ask Dr. Zacconi to bring it in. He looked great, and maybe that means we'll see Slade and Mondo versus Dave Dahl and Dylan Mesh for the Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators Tag Team Championship. And I don't even think Mondo's new supplement program can be able to lift that big slob Dave Dahl.
I don't know, man. I saw him pick up a couple of big guys over the weekend. He had knocks up for a suplex, man. That was impressive.
But picking up a pro wrestler is way different than picking up 750 tons of monkey crap in a giant orange hefty bag.
Fair. I will say this one last thing about Mondo and Slade. So while they were first teaming on this episode of Power, I really feel like they came into Crockett Cup looking like a solid tag team. And I keep saying it, but if they do leave Rolando out of the equation, I could see those guys being money for the NWA, and I kind of hope that's where they go with them. We did see some changes to some faces and heels during Crockett Cup, and if you needed a All-American face team, that they could push as baby faces, I think Mondo and Slade could be it. Very, very reminiscent of the Steiner brothers back in the early 90s. That's the vibe I kept picking up all entire match with them.
I was thinking of a more powerhouse version of Shelton Benjamin and Charlie Haas.
Yeah. That works too.
Too.
I'll take that.
But no, everybody, if you're listening, please, once you see Slade and Mondo, even if you just take our word for it, start putting on the NWA Instagram and Twitter and YouTube and everything else you can find that these guys need to be champions, because I think they're the next. They should be the next thing tag team wise in the NWA. And there's some tag teams I like there too, but they probably came out of the Crockett Cup as my favorite tag team, even though I'm a huge fan of Murdoch and Murdoch as I call them, even more so now. They've after what they did in the Crockett Cup at the last match in that Crockett Cup, I'm a huge fan of them now, and you'll see what happened. Why? Remember what happened, Jay?
No, tell me why.
They're no longer 2.5 men.
Oh yeah. I said that earlier. There was no. Never mind. Now I get what you're saying. Let's keep that a secret for us.
Yeah, it was so fun.
We'll tell you offline, Rick. So that kind of concludes the NWA portion of tonight's Alliance Guys podcast. Now, of course, there are huge events coming to the greater New Jersey area, and I'm going to allow our pal Jaden, on behalf of Dr. Lawrence Draconium and the Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators, to let you know about the upcoming events for Dog.
Well, I think you mean maybe on Saturday nights, June 28th, at the Sacred Heart Church, located at 103 4th Street in beautiful, historic Riverton, New Jersey. Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators comes back for the All-American Bash. The main event for the Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators Heavyweight Championship. New champion Vinny the Fixer takes on the extremely popular, high-flying Marvelous. Marvelous has a really good win-loss record in Dog, and he's now punched his ticket and got a shot at the Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators Heavyweight Championship. Will Vinny's reign be short-lived, or will Marvelous feel that knockout power punch of Vinny the Fixer? Make sure you are at the Sacred Heart Church in Riverton, New Jersey, to see that first time matchup. Also announced, the World Wrestling Grand Prix Women's Championship will be on the line, as the WWGP Women's Champion Valerie Verman, who will most likely have her main squeeze, Samuel, just say Samuel. They'll have him in her corner. Will take on the number one contender, Stevie Brooks. Stevie Brooks was supposed to get a shot at a match. Unfortunately, the card didn't happen. So she's now cashing in her number one contendership for the World Wrestling Grand Prix Women's Championship. The Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators Tag Team Championship will be on the line as Dave Dahl and Dylan Mesh defend against Primal Fear. You might have seen Primal Fear on Ring of Honor television. They're a well-known tag team in the Northeast. Lots of regional and independent gold, but now they're in the major leagues trying to get a shot at the Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators Tag Team Championship. And I, for one, can't wait to see it. Also on the card, OVW superstar DGAT Bundles. You might have seen him in movies. You may have seen him on the Netflix special about Ohio Valley Wrestling called The Wrestlers. He is going to be in action. The former WWE star Tank Tolan, also Ring of Honor star, he'll be there. The World Wrestling Grand Prix heavyweight champion David Goldie will be defending his championship, Biggie Biggs, and so much more. Plus, don't forget the special appearance from world-ranked bantamweight professional boxer Emmanuel Rodriguez. For ticket information, call 856-417-4187. Make sure you check out for dogprowrestling.com, and I suddenly realized that's not on the poster. So make sure you check out dogprowrestling.com. So for more information, it'll be updated, or check out all our social media pages. And don't ask me what they are because I have no idea. But that's going to be Saturday night, June 28th. Max Fit. Sacred Heart Church in Riverton, New Jersey. Tickets are only $20. The doors open at 7 p.m. Bell time is 7:30. Make sure you're going to buy the entire chair, but you're only going to need the edge of that seat. So again, that's live pro wrestling at the Sacred Heart Church, the All-American Bash. And then just the very next month, you have more? Okay.
I don't have the other poster on.
You don't or do?
I do not.
Well, it's sent to you. So, but the very next night,
I'll have it next week.
Very next month, July 23rd to July 27th, Dog's going to be at the Monmouth Park for the Monmouth County Fair. It's going to be a 5-night extravaganza, and Dog Pro Wrestling will have wrestling all 5 nights. Currently signed, the current World Wrestling Grand Prix heavyweight champion David Goldie, the current World Wrestling Grand Prix women's champion Valerie Verman. And this is, of course, assuming they still hold those championships. You're going to see the Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators heavyweight champion Vinny the Fixer. You're going to see Falaba, former Impact Wrestling superstar. You're going to see Tank Tolan is going to be part of that action. And there's a lot more going on at the Dog Days of Summer at the Monmouth County Fair. That's at the East Freehold Showgrounds in Freehold, New Jersey. It is the 50th anniversary to the Monmouth County Fair, but it's the first time they're going to have professional wrestling. There's going to, again, Wednesday, July 23rd, Thursday, July 24th, Friday, July 25th. I don't know why it says Wednesday to Friday. The 26th is the Saturday, and the 27th. There's a little issue on the poster. I have to get that fixed. But there's going to be wrestling all nights, so you can come check it out. There's going to be a lot of great professional wrestling. Every dog championship is going to be on the line, so you can see that in person. The fair admission is only $10. So you get into the fair for $10. Children 12 and under for free. There's also be free parking. The wrestling will be free with admission to the fair. So again, make sure you check that out. It's going to be Wednesday, July 23rd to Sunday, July 27th. And it's free. For more information, contact the Monmouth County Parks by either at info@monmouthcountyparks.com or call 732-842-4000. Other things that you're going to see, there's going to be carnival rides, there's going to be food trucks, there's going to be vendors, there's going to be pig racing, and I wonder if Dave Dahl will be a part of that. I don't know. There will be all kinds of musical acts, including somebody who was with the American Idol. And you want to check it out because it's going to be great pro wrestling. There's more coming up that I'll be working on with Dog, but that's the two things that you want to check out. Speaking of Dog, too, make sure you check out our YouTube page. There is a lot of wrestling content that was put up recently. There's been promos and lots of matches that you'll be able to see, including Donovan Dijak versus David Goldie. I highly recommend you go out of your way to try to see that. Wrecking Ball Legursky is on there too. He's a good friend of the NWA Alliance guys and of Rick, and former WWE superstar Tank Tolan's on there. You're going to see Valley Vermin's part of it. Goldie is part of it. They need a fixer winning the Dog Championship. Spoiler alert, you can check that all out. And then all kinds of footage from the South Jersey Geek Fest is also on there. So make sure you check it out. More will be added for the next couple days too, so you'll be able to see even more. So you want to check that out. It's on YouTube. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and share. Make sure you click that bell icon so you never miss an upload. And now I'll bring it back to you guys.
Real quick, I also want to point out that this Tuesday, live on our Twitch channel, only on Twitch, twitch.com/The Alliance Blog, I'll be sitting down and interviewing Big Mama, former NWA Women's Television Champion, former NWA Women's Tag Team Champion, currently the United Wrestling Network Women's World Champion. Big Mama will be on the podcast, the Alliance Blog podcast. So that'll be on this Tuesday at, I believe it'll be 3:30 Pacific, 5:30 Eastern, only on our Twitch channel.
And she makes faces just like DK does.
Very similar, huh?
Yeah.
Rick, what do you want to plug? You've got a few minutes. What do you want to say?
I've got a lot of great podcasts coming up. Don't forget, check out the one that I just did that dropped this week with Coates, one half of the German troopers, stormtroopers, excuse me. Okay. With Helmut Hessler, worked WWF, WCW, worked South of Lake, trained under Nelson Royal, does have some NWA history. This coming Tuesday, I'll be speaking with Bob Smith, former managing editor of Pro Wrestling Illustrated, WCW Magazine, and many, many others, host of the Outdated Wrestling Hour. He will be returning, the good friend, and just confirmed, and I'll be talking to him this week, will be former WWF Tag Team Champion, Hall of Famer Tony Gurria, and we'll be speaking with, there is one, former AWA superstar Johnny Stewart as well. That's what I got coming up for the next few weeks.
Johnny Stewart.
And if you check out Rick's page, I mean, he's got interviews, going back. I'm just looking right now, and I'm just scrolling. I mean, it's almost infinite. I think
I started in 2019, so I've done over 400 episodes altogether, depending on whatever you want to call the show. Changed it a couple times over the years, but probably over 400 episodes, and I've had a lot of fun interviewing former superstars. It seems
Brian Blair.
Yep.
My
one of my
friends,
favorites. Yeah.
My friends Andy Brown and Alyssa Marino, who you
Yep.
can also see doing some of the NWA presidential election stuff. The Golden Boy, Greg Anthony, former NWA national champion. Joseph Von Schmidt, Sean Cruz, D'Angelo Skylar, Ashley Stevie, Ryan Frost, Jeremy LaCroix, Doc Warren, Kaizo, Corey Duke, Mustang Mike, former NWA national champion, and the Duke Boys, and of course, just 2 days ago, talking with Chuck Coates. So make sure you check out Rick Del Santo's channel. He is part of the Alliance blog, and you can find him on our YouTube channel by going to our co-conspirators, as Rick is definitely part of the Alliance blog family. So that's going to do it for us, I think, this week, guys. Again, thank you so much for hanging out with us on your Thursday evening and making us a part of your viewing habits every week. I do appreciate that. Please stay tuned to the Alliance blog on all socials as we continue to upload content from the Crockett Cup. There's more clips, there's more photos, and all in all, just it was a great time. And we look forward to having the next Alliance Wrestling Summit with you at hashtag NWA fam. But until then, we'll see you at the matches.
Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. before NWA Power. You can find us on social media at The Alliance Blog. And until next time, we are The Alliance.